Hi everybody, I'm Billy Walker. I'm the master blender for the White Heather blended Scotch whisky. Interesting story attaching to White Heather, of course. When we acquired the distillery, one of the very important asks in the negotiations was that I wanted to get access to the White Heather brand, because being sufficiently long in the tooth and long time in this industry, I had very good memories of how important and how well positioned White Heather had been in the marketplace, and that's going back 30 or 40 years. So the opportunity to actually get access to the intellectual property of the brand and then actually start recreating the whole White Heather blended Scotch whisky experience was such an interesting and fantastic challenge. And in many ways, the ask and the opportunity to play with blended Scotch whisky rather than single malt Scotch whisky is one of the really interesting things for a blender, because it means that we get the opportunity to dabble different kind of building blocks. We get into some interesting grain whiskies and some interesting alternative third-party malts, and then the fun begins. Our ambition for the brand was always that we wanted to make sure it was positioned at the top end of the market, as it deserved to be given its historic reputation. We didn't want to be competing the footprint of younger or higher volume brands. We wanted to make sure that the wood we use, the cask we use, were the right kind of cask to deliver the quality perception that we wanted to introduce into the blend. Preparing a blend for the blender is just such fun, and when you're preparing from birth, and you can choose the kind of building blocks that you want to choose. Yeah, it's fantastic fun. The actual name itself is interesting, and from a Scottish point of view, from a mythological point of view, White Heather in Scotland is seen as a very lucky symbol. So of course, it has the ideal name to be on the label of a very, very premium Scotch whisky blend. For any blender, the art of blending is, of course, a very personal thing, and a lot of it is contingent upon the kind of experience they've had, the range of whiskies that perhaps they've worked with in the past, their memory of them, how they actually interacted and behaved, both with in terms of different styles of grain in the blend, and indeed different styles of malts that are going into the blend, whether it's Lowland, Highland, Speyside. So great opportunity to use lots of different building blocks, and of course it's another very important part of creating the kind of experience that you're striving for, is the history of where the whiskies have been, the style of wood that they've been in, or indeed the style of wood that you have subsequently moved them into to deliver the kind of flavour profile, the complexity of flavour that you're looking for. And so starting from birth with White Heather was like fun. It's always fun. And you're working in instinct so often that you know how this kind of whiskey will react. You know that in terms of the kind of peated content, you don't want to have it more than 3%. You don't want to overwhelm it with the kind of power of peated whiskies. You want to have the kind of the notes that we talk about, like chocolate, vanilla, cinnamon, honey. That's the kind of experience that you want the ultimate blend to deliver for you personally, but also for the consumer. The very starting point in the journey was what is it we were trying to achieve? We wanted to have a blended whiskey that was full-bodied, that would cope with the kind of high strength that we were bottling at. But we also realised from our previous experience, that we wanted to have a significant malt presence in the blended whiskey. So we were around about 60-40, 57% grain, 43% malt. The right kind of balance. But in preparation to creating the formula and knowing the building blocks that we had available, we also wanted to make sure that we were using, or the whiskey had been in the category of cask for a period of time that was going to actually fulfill the full expectation of what we wanted to achieve with the blend. And that meant that we had to do a significant amount of re-racking into things like sherry casks, or also PX, virgin casks, so that we were actually capturing the kind of flavour components from the wood that were going to deliver the kind of ultimate experience that we wanted to bring to the market. In the selection process, we were pretty firm in our mind that the kind of the grains we wanted to use, and my favourite grains, essentially because they allow the malts that we're going to introduce into the blend to play out significantly. They don't overwhelm the malt. The malt is allowed to be the real players in the orchestra. We knew we wanted to have a hint of peat, so it's in about 2-3% of an Isle of peat, and of course there's a significant presence of gonalchi in the mix. And you know, it doesn't happen overnight. A lot of it is based on, you know, it's blending is an art or a science. Instinct tells me that it's an art, but my scientific background tells me that while it's an art, the science will explain why you are achieving the kind of product profile that you've been searching for, and the kind of flavour profiles it delivers. Touching briefly, or maybe rolling briefly onto cask management, it's so important to understand the contribution that part of the blending experience brings to the whole kind of equation. What exactly is happening in terms of toasting of the wood and the charring of the wood? Important chemical structures in the wood are hemicellulose, celluloses, lignins, tannins, and lipids. And the process of toasting and heating causes the generation of these long chain molecular structures, and you'll find things like vanilla, coconut, which is whiskey lactones, and cinnamons, and spices, various spices. And they're such an important contribution. It's also important to monitor the development. How long, what is the sweet spot of the whiskey being in these various catches, just to catch them right? And that's a big demand on the blender. He's going to be looking at a lot of samples on a very regular basis. But the contribution of wood is so important, and understanding the chemistry of what is happening and what you're trying to extract and how these flavours evolve is, from a blender's point of view, is just fantastic.